Tuesday, January 28th, 2025. Stephanie, please take it away.
I, Stephanie Morales, the Deputy Town Clerk of the Town of Morristown, do hereby state that it is 7:35 p.m. on Tuesday, January 28th, 2025, and that this regular meeting is being held in Council Chambers, 200 South Street, Morristown, New Jersey. Adequate notice of the meeting was provided according to law by written notice of the Morristown Daily Record, the official newspaper of the Town of Morristown, and to the Newark Star Ledger, both more than 48 hours ago. Notice was also posted on the bulletin board at Town Hall and filed with the office of the Town Clerk of the Town of Morristown. I do further state that I shall enter into the minutes of this meeting a statement that such notice was furnished as particularly by me described in this public announcement. For benefit of the public, I will do roll call. Councilwoman Foster? Here. Councilman Iannicone?
Here.
Councilwoman Lindsay? Here. Councilman Polipchuk?
Here.
Councilman Russo?
Here.
Councilman Silva?
Present.
Council President Umbreak.
Here.
Mr. President, we have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Let's please pause for a moment of silence. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Moving on to consent agenda. There are 4 items on the consent agenda this evening. Unless members of council would like to discuss it, I'd like to ask if there's a motion to adopt items 1 through 4.
Council President, if I may just make a recommendation that we remove number 4 from the agenda.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Item number 4 has been removed. Therefore, I'd like to ask for a motion to adopt items 1 through 3.
I'll make a motion to adopt consent agenda items 1 through 3.
Second.
On the adoption of the consent agenda, items 1 through 3, do roll call. Councilwoman Foster?
Yes.
Councilman Iannicone?
Yes.
Councilwoman Lindsay?
Here.
Councilman Polipchuk?
Yes.
Councilman Russo?
Yes.
Councilman Silva?
Yes.
And Council President Umbreak.
Yes.
Motion carries. Items 1 through 3. Okay.
We can move on to the public hearing.
All right, public participation. Public participation instructions before public comment. At this time, I will open the floor for a public hearing on any matter. When called upon, please approach the microphone, state your name and address, and limit your comment to 5 minutes or less. Be advised that any derogatory comments targeting members of the council and/or administration may be ruled out of order.
Is there anyone from the public? Yes, ma'am. In the striped shirt.
Yep.
Thank you. I'm Joan Bells from 30 Erskine Drive. Over the years, I have supported immigrants. I've had some of them living with me in my home for as much as 3 months. They've come from Vietnam, from Gambia, from Afghanistan. Every one of them was an honest, trustworthy, hardworking person. These people have sacrificed so much to be in a safe place. I've had the joy of watching them get their green cards, get their citizenship, watch their children go to college. These are people who have worked hard, they're contributing to our social security system, they pay their taxes, and they're looking for a safe place to live. So I would urge you, please, to consider passing this Immigration Trust Act in support of the New Jersey legislation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Kristen Ace, I saw your hand up.
Hi, good evening, Council. I'm Kristen Ace. I live at 24 Franklin Street, and I'm here to represent the Morristown Shade Tree Commission. We're going to start out thanking Mayor Doherty and Jillian Barrick for stepping in and helping us try to find out who was vandalizing the 20 trees in the business district. I hope that we come to some kind of, I hope we find out what happened, and we appreciate you stepping in. A brief overview for last year for the Friend of Foots Pond Wood. They logged 1,227 hours, which is $42,000 in volunteer time. They planted 200 trees, countless shrubs and flowers, and did an extraordinary job. They are our sister organization, and they work under the Shade Tree Commission umbrella. The Shade Tree Commission logged 1,078 hours for a total of $36,000 in volunteer time. We planted 18 tree donations, 36 trees at Bud Park, and 87 resident trees for a total of 141 trees. I was voted in, again, as chairperson by my peers of the Shade Tree Commission. So what that means is that I am the liaison between the Shade Tree Commission and you. I am not the Shade Tree Commission. There are 5 other members of the Shade Tree Commission who are as educated, trained, and dedicated to urban tree care as I am. As a team, we do the heavy lifting for the urban canopy that needs to be done, but we cannot do all the lifting, which brings me to an issue that we have come upon this year. We found that the trees in the business district, the tree wells, are being salted as if they are a sidewalk. There's so much salt on these wells that when the residents walk on them, they have ground the salt into the flexi-pave, which clogs the pores, and it leaves the salt nowhere else to go but into the tree. This amount of salt in a tree will kill it. This year, the Shade Tree Commission walked around flyers to all the businesses, only come to find out that those flyers never got to the appropriate people. And the email communication sent by the Morristown Partnership went unread. It's a deep frustration for us. We are going above and beyond to send awareness to our business district, the importance of these trees, and we are going unheard. It is scientifically proven that trees, a healthy tree canopy, leads to a healthy and prosperous municipality. People who walk down street-lined trees are calmer and happier. The air and the cooling that a tree-lined street gives us, then there are less car accidents on tree-lined streets. So having a healthy urban canopy within our business district is super important. And not just to the Shade Tree Commission, it needs to be important to every person in this town. Because if the business owners are actively killing the trees in front of their business, it becomes fiscally irresponsible for the Shade Tree Commission to replace those trees. We work with taxpayer dollars. We don't want to get to that point. We're seeking help from the administration and from the council. And I want to thank the administration. I want to thank Councilman Iannacone, Councilman Russo, Councilman Polepchik, and Jennifer Waring of the partnership, who have answered this call and started a conversation with me. We need this problem to be fixed before this season is over so that we don't lose any trees in the business district that aren't already dying or in peril. So I am looking to you. I look forward to a deeper conversation, and I appreciate your time. I also want to thank the DPW and the engineering department who help us get all of our things accomplished. They are an amazing group of people, and we are so lucky to have them. So that's it. I look forward to deeper conversations. Our next meeting is Tuesday, February 18th at 7 p.m. in room 201, and we'd love to see you. Thanks so much.
Thanks. Thank you, Kristen. Yes, sir.
Thank you to Councilman Russo for inviting me to make a brief presentation to the council. As I am a foreigner in this land, it means a lot. I live in the township.
Could you give your name and address, sir?
Louis Stone, 11 Cromwell Drive, Morris Township. I serve on the board of Morristown Jewish Center and act as its unofficial historian. Our congregation recently celebrated 125 years, and at the gala dinner in November, Mayor Doherty walked through our history exhibit. He later mentioned to Mr. Russo, who took the tour and suggested I address the council, so here I am. As I have a short time, my goal is to tell you just enough that you are interested to come see our exhibit in person. Jewish people have been in America since before it was independent. The exhibit focuses on our place in the community as Americans, as neighbors, and as community helpers. So just a couple quick examples. More than 140 men and women from our congregation fought in World War II. 5 made the ultimate sacrifice for our country. During World War II, we purchased a dresser that had been owned by John Hancock, and our community gifted it to the National Park Service. It's at the Ford Mansion, and it's rotated among the other displays. At the community garden on Early Street, our community is represented along with the other communities on the totem poles at the entrance to the garden. Now I want to take a moment to tell you about something in your building. So I have highlights for each of you, but I'll just read the highlights. So have you ever wondered who this guy is and why there's a plaque in your lobby next to the television? He was a careful investor. He lived modestly. He never married. He served in World War I. He later served on the Morristown Planning Board from 1961 to 63. At his passing, he gave quite a number of donations to local institutions: Morristown Hospital, All Souls Hospital, St. Margaret's of Scotland, the First Presbyterian Church, and the Township of Morris, which he gave $42,000 in 1971, which equates to $330,000 in 2025 dollars. However, he did have a provision that said that the plaque be designated as a gift from Albert Sire. So that's the reason you have a plaque to Mr. Sire in your building. My contact, so here is more information. I want to thank James Lewis for helping me with the presentation at the library.
You can give it to the clerk, sir.
Certainly, to the clerk, yeah.
To the clerk. Yeah, watch your step. Thank you.
And my contact information is on there. I invite you to come on by.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Louis.
Yes, Casey, please come on up.
Hi, I'm Casey Ziske, 25 Farmhouse Lane. Stop there. I've observed excessive application of road salt on the sidewalks and around town, so as a chairwoman of the Environmental Commission, but also a water resource manager as my normal job, I am compelled to tell you that it's just an excess amount. Not only does it cost the town money to apply excess salt, but it also is corrosive and causes harm to the environment, along with our cars, lawns, water, and infrastructure. I just also want to remind you that the new MS4 permits require removal of excess salt within 72 hours after application. I want to point to you that maybe consider the use of brine instead of the 100% rock salt. That is all. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Casey. Yes, on this side. Yep, come on up.
Hi, my name is Leslie Moran. Sorry, I'm not a resident of Morristown any longer. I never was, but Morris County for 50 years. And I moved across the line. 20 Village Drive, Basking Ridge. I want to express my gratitude for this town committee's support of our immigrant community over many years, and particularly the resolution supporting the New Jersey Immigrant Trust Act. My work and friendship with immigrants encompasses residents from a variety of countries, including, as Joe mentioned, Gambia, Afghanistan, Colombia, and others. And that work has enriched my life in many ways. I'm a retired school psychologist, so the mere thought of ICE officers entering schools and other child-sensitive places is chilling to me. And I'm proud that our beautiful and diverse state has taken the step of initiating this legislation. We need to, of course, call our legislators. Estoy igualmente orgulloso de nuestra hermosa ciudad de Morristown por apoyar esta legislación.
Thank you. Yes, please, come on up.
Hello, good evening. My name is Leandra Durena. I live at 92 Lidgerwood Parkway in Morristown. I'm here today as part of the Wind of the Spirit Coalition. I want to thank the council for bringing the resolution in support of the Immigrant Trust Act to a vote tonight. Could not have come at a more crucial time. We want everyone, including our undocumented neighbors, to feel safe and secure in our town and know that they can seek public services like schools, libraries, without the fear of detention or deportation. We really appreciate the council having this vote tonight. We look forward to a vote in favor of this resolution in support of the ITA.
Buenas noches, alcalde y consejero de Morristown. Mi nombre es María Aguilar y vivo en la 22 Hillary en Morristown. Soy trabajadora del hogar, tengo 20 años viviendo en esta dirección y vine a este país cuando tenía 23 años para reunirme con mi esposo y con el deseo de trabajar y lograr un futuro y después regresar a mi país. Durante estos años me fue acostumbrando a este país, la libertad que sentía y la posibilidad de apoyar a mi familia económicamente. Estando acá, tengo 3 hijos, uno de ellos nació acá en los Estados Unidos. Hemos luchado con mi esposo para mis hijos se eduquen, tengan un buen futuro y sigan a la sociedad con sus profesiones. Recuerdo que en el 2006, cuando mi hijo tenía 9 años, fue una época también de mucho temor de las familias por décadas redadas de deportaciones. Nosotros estamos muy sorprendidos porque creíamos que la migración estaba solo en la frontera. Ahora observo que está pasando lo mismo en este tiempo. Ha sido 2 semanas viendo a muchas familias sufriendo por el temor de que migración llegue a sus casas. Conozco muchas madres y padres muy preocupados por esta situación de tanta amenaza. Además, los hijos nacidos acá de padres inmigrantes están atemorizados porque están pensando que en cualquier momento puede llegar ICE y llevarse a sus padres. Sabemos que migración ha estado en Morristown. Como miembro de la organización de Viento del Espíritu y junto con mi familia, quiero pedir a ustedes que respalden el acta de confianza ante Senado y Asamblea en Trenton para que New Jersey siga siendo en este protegido. Reconoce la dignidad y el aporte de la comunidad inmigrante a este estado. Muchas gracias y feliz noche.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Carol Ruiz, serving as interpreter for Maria Aguilar with Wind of the Spirit. Good evening, Mayor and Council of Morristown. My name is Maria Aguilar, and I live at 22 Hillary in Morristown. I am a domestic worker. I've been living at this address for 20 years, and I came to this country when I was only 23 years old to reunite with my husband and with the wish to work and make a better future for my family, and maybe one day return to my country when it is safe to do so. During these past 23 years, I've assimilated to this country. The freedom that I feel and the possibility to support my family economically being here. I have 3 children, one of whom is born here in the United States. We have struggled and overcome with my husband so that my children can receive an education, have a better future, and serve our society with their professions. I remember in 2006 when my youngest was just 9 years old. It was a time of great fear in our families because of the raids and the mass deportations. We were very surprised because we believed that immigration was just at the border. Now I observe that we are suffering the same at this time. It's been 2 weeks just seeing so many families suffering because of the fear that migration ICE has caused in our homes. I know many mothers and fathers very worried about the situation with so much threat. In addition, children born here to immigrant families are terrorized because they're thinking that any moment ICE will rip them apart from their families. We know that ICE comes to Morristown. As a member of the organization Wind of the Spirit and with my family, as Morristown residents, we urge you to support the Immigrant Trust Act before the Senate and the Assembly in Trenton, and to ensure that New Jersey continues to protect the most vulnerable, to protect our dignity, and to support immigrants in this community.
Thank you. Your time is up.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I just confirm, was that 6 minutes altogether, 3 and 3, or 5 and 5? I apologize, I was late.
That was 5, yes. We don't extend time. It's 5 minutes
I'm not
total.
asking for an extension to the time. In accord with the language access law, all residents have the right to submit their public comment to this council. Your policies are 3 minutes, so then the
No,
interpretation.
well, you're
I'm
wrong.
not finished,
You're wrong.
Counselor.
No, I'm sorry, you're
and
wrong.
And
You're
the
wrong.
interpretation
Okay.
then is
I'm going to let you
permitted
finish,
for
and then I'm
the-
going to tell you what our rules are, okay?
And then whatever your rule is, the interpretation then is double that. So if your rule is 5 minutes, then the interpreter has 5 minutes to interpret the comment.
I'm going to advise this governing body that was completely wrong, okay? Our rules are 5 minutes. There is no doubling of time under any state law as advised by the speaker. We are happy to allow you to take 5 minutes. You can offer your interpretive services for the people who wish to speak, but our rules have to be uniform for everyone, and the time is 5 minutes.
Council,
So-
you should also be offering interpretive services, because how are residents going to communicate
Okay.
with you? So if I can't interpret the full comment, you are cutting Spanish speakers or any non-English speakers to 2.5 minutes. And that's discriminatory against everyone else who gets, or against them if everyone else gets 5 minutes.
We very much want to hear, ma'am, from the speakers. So if you'd like to interpret for the next speaker, we would love to hear what they have to say.
Council, I'd like to respect your practice and your policy. In every other council where we appear and they don't offer interpreter, for example, Dover offers an interpreter, so we don't have this issue. The person gets 3 minutes in Dover, the interpreter has 3 minutes to interpret it. Sometimes
Council
that's
President,
not
the
even
speaker is
enough.
now out of order. She's extending her
That's-
time.
that's
She is out of
sometimes-
order.
That's sometimes not enough, Council President, but
Council
certainly you
President,
can.
the speaker is out of order.
You
She's extending
can
her time
offer
without any rules.
an
without any
interpreter, or you can
regard for the
allow
rules
for the
whatsoever.
time.
Well, I think that, you know, in the past, we've actually had Pastor Silva that's done a lot of the interpreting, who's our resident councilman and very strong within the Hispanic community here in Morristown.
Yeah.
So
And I'm
he's-
happy to.
he's happy to- I'm sure he's
share it
happy
with
to as
him.
well.
I just want to make sure that whoever the interpreter is, that the resident or the speaker has their full 3 minutes in whichever language they choose, and that you, council, have the benefit of those same 3 minutes in English so that you all can understand, unless, of course, you all
Where are
understand
you getting 3
Spanish
minutes
or
from, ma'am?
French.
I'm sorry. We're
Is it
5
not your
minutes.
public
No,
comment?
No,
No,
it's
we're
not our
we're at
rule. We're
5
5
minutes.
minutes.
5 minutes.
5 minutes.
Okay, so 5 minutes for the speaker and 5 minutes for the interpreter.
No, that is not our rule. And I'm going to once
I
again
understand
advise
that's
this
not your
governing.
rule.
Excuse me.
But there is a language access law, a state law, that other municipalities are following, and that's not, we're not here to argue that law. You can certainly Google it afterwards, you'll find it, I can email it to you. I just want to make sure that the next speaker has the time to communicate with you in their language, and that you can hear it in the language that you understand, in full. So I can share this with Pastor Silva, and of course he can serve as interpreter, or I can do it. The timing is the issue for me.
Okay, well, the rule that we have here is 5 minutes in total for each speaker.
Okay.
So if that's 2.5 minutes for the person to speak and 2.5 minutes for the interpreter, but 5 minutes total.
Do you not see how that's discriminatory, though? Because
This-
then
the speaker is
Spanish-only
continuing to
speakers
be out of order.
only
It
have
is not
2.5
discriminatory.
minutes.
It is being applied uniformly to everyone.
Right.
Thank
5
you.
minutes in total is how we uniformly handle public speaking. So if you want somebody else to come up and, like I said, speak for 2.5 minutes, and you can interpret for 2.5 minutes, that's fine. But 5 minutes in
Okay.
total across the board for all public speakers.
So, Council, I would request that if I share the law with you, that you each review it and hopefully comply with the law for your next council session.
Okay, thank you. Yes, sir.
Buenas noches, señor alcalde y todos los que están en la mesa. Buenas noches, mi nombre es Freddy. Vivo aquí en Morristown, New Jersey. Vine a los Estados Unidos por problemas económicos y problemas donde vivía en el 2015 en mi país, Ecuador. Estaba pasando por unas crisis económicas y había problemas con el narcotráfico en mi barrio, amenazas, venganza y tuve que salir. Luego, hace 3 años, llegó mi familia, mi esposa, mis hijos. Ahora yo tengo una compañía de construcción en general y cuando los clientes me llaman, a veces tengo dudas de el otro día que me fui a Pensilvania a trabajar a un cliente y vi un carro de AC. Entonces le dije al cliente que no podía trabajar porque yo tengo mi familia aquí en los Estados Unidos y preocupo ser detenido por la migración yendo a mi trabajo desde que vi el carro de AC en Pensilvania y yo ya no salgo a trabajar a lugares lejos de Morristown. Yo no me arriesgo a salir porque estoy con mi familia desde el año nuevo que ya comenzaron a deportar de Los Ángeles en California. Desde ese lo siento miedo por mi familia y mi familia miedo de que nos separen, de que nos podamos estar comunicados si nos llegan a deportar. Mis hijos, tiene uno 22 años, el otro 18 años, que está en la high school. Mi niña tiene 10 años y yo ya no salgo muy lejos de Morristown por mi familia y tantas familias en Morristown. Les pedimos como organización del Viento del Espíritu que aprueben la resolución y el respaldo de acta de confianza para que los legisladores estatales pasen esta ley lo antes posible. Muchas gracias por escucharme y por escucharnos.
Thank you.
My name is Freddie Chacha. I'm a resident and I have been living in the United States because I had to flee my country of origin due to economic challenges there, as well as challenges with narco trafficking in my community, threats and danger that took place there. 3 years ago, I came here with my wife and my children, and now I contribute to this community with a construction company. When my clients call, I sometimes am fearful to respond to the work that they provide. Just the other day, I was in Pennsylvania working with a client, and I saw an ICE vehicle. I left the client's home and let them know that I could no longer do the job because I did not want to place myself or my family at risk. Since I've seen that ICE truck in Pennsylvania, I have not left to go to work anywhere further than Morristown. I don't risk leaving my family alone and unprotected. Since the new year, I've seen mass deportations in California, and I'm fearful for my family. I'm fearful that we'll be separated, that we won't be able to communicate with each other due to deportation. My children are 22, 18, and I have a daughter of 10 years old. We no longer leave Morristown. My family and so many other families in Morristown beg you that you heed the call of Wind of the Spirit and approve the resolution to support the Immigrant Trust Act so that our state legislators will pass this law as soon as possible. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, Council. I'm Kathleen Shea. I live at 25 Fournier Crescent in Elmwood Park. I'm here with Wind of the Spirit. I'm a former resident of Morristown, and I myself was adopted by a lovely man and woman when I was a baby from Peru, and I then became a naturalized citizen. So I'm also here in support of the Immigrant Trust Act. I'm also a licensed clinical social worker, as well in a dialysis outpatient facility. So as we know, there are real-life examples of the support of the Immigrant Trust Act from the community, and also, for example, Atlantic County Police Chief and Monmouth County workshops show that the act reflects what many law enforcement departments already do, or police departments already do, fostering trust and cooperation between immigrants and law enforcement. Now for a more personal anecdote. as a licensed clinical social worker in a dialysis setting, I work in Jersey City and Palisades, and there are a lot of immigrants from all different cultures, and some of my role is to also assist with health equity, and in that, I focus on encouraging healthcare literacy, access to resources, and connecting and educating patients on how they can apply for resources. So the protection for my patients is paramount because they are receiving life-sustaining dialysis treatment, and they do expect for their legal status not to be discovered by others, ICE, and as well, my fellow patients and everybody in the community shall not need to live in fear attending life-sustaining treatment, also emergency treatment in the hospital systems. Lastly, we thank you for bringing the resolution to a vote. It could not come at a more important time. You see what happened with the raids in Newark, and you can let everyone see a better way as we look forward to you approving the resolution tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else from the public that would like to comment?
Good evening. My name is Meredith Davidson. I live at 10 Colonial Road. I do want to thank you for bringing forth the resolution to support the Immigrant Trust Act. I urge you to pass the resolution so together we can build a stronger and more welcoming community here in Morristown and in the state of New Jersey. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Meredith.
Thank you, Meredith. Final call for public comment. All right, I'm going to close public comment. Council responses to public hearing comments. Councilman Russo, go ahead.
Thank you, Council President. Mr. Lewis Stone, he's no longer here. He left a little earlier. I do encourage anyone from the council, the administration, or the public, if you haven't already, check out the museum there, the Jewish Museum. He taught me a lot of history in about 45 minutes. I was pressed for time, but it's fascinating, their history to Morristown, their history to the United States in general. So I'm happy he came here and spoke to the public about it. So in your free time, take a walk over and ask for Lewis Stone.
Thank you.
Tell him Chris Russo sent you.
Tell him Chris Russo sent you.
Yeah, that's right.
Get discount.
Discount.
On the
Sure.
fair and welcoming.
Yep. Can you just speak into your microphone?
Thank you for reminding
Yes.
me. I'm real proud of this town on issues like this, and I got to give a lot of credit to administration. I got to give a lot of credit to this council and the councils of the past. When you look at, I think our town, we may not be the first on this one, but in the past we have been out there protecting the rights of immigrants who we don't see as immigrants, we see them as our neighbors. Okay. And just a little history, we did fair and welcoming back in 2017. Shortly thereafter, in 2017, we promoted and we supported the temporary protection status, okay, with another resolution. And then, and this is really just an outgrowth of that. And again, I got to give a lot of credit to this administration and this council and past councils. It's a long ways from where we came in 2007. And I'll remind people about the bad times of 2007. 2007, there was a resolution before this council, okay, to prohibit the deputization of our police department by ICE, okay? And I think where we've come from 2007 with those types of views in this community to where we are today, it's a great thing. It's
Absolutely.
a great thing. And I thank all of us, and the mayor and administration, and our police chief, and our other law enforcement people in town for understanding the importance of this. What this act is doing is merely extending what is currently in the governor's directive. This is New Jersey. New Jersey, I think, we're one of the most immigrant-friendly, immigrant-dense populated states, and we're proud of that. All of us have, every single person at this table came from an immigrant background, except not you two, okay, but you know what I'm saying, okay? Well, but that all being said, none of us are from here, none of us are from here, But what this bill does do is it does tell the government what it can and cannot do. So from a business standpoint, correct me if I'm wrong, David, this protects the town. Because when we act to protect the interest, we can rely on the state law. Okay, so it's almost like an indemnification for what we do to work with our neighbors. And that's why I think it's also, just from a business standpoint, it's important to the town.
Absolutely.
And I'll stop there. Dave, thank you.
I have something.
Yes, I'm sure. Pastor Silva.
Yes, I'm going to speak as a vice president. 8 years here in the council, and today is a day of small victory, going for the big victory at Trenton. However, my comment at this moment is not going to be on the resolution. I'm going to have a special comment at the moment of the resolution. But on behalf of the Latino community, I want to apologize with this body. I so much respect this body, and in 8 years, I never saw anybody so unruled and disrespectful with this council. We are friendly, we are pro-community. You heard Councilman Ayana Con. So when somebody comes here to push back to the people that is helping, that's wrong, that's unwise. That's why sometimes we don't win battles, because we are full. So I apologize, Mr. President, and the mayor and the administration. I was very annoyed by that. And Ms. Carol Ruiz, you didn't help the cause. We are here pro-immigrant community, and you didn't help the cause by all the things that you did today. And I want this body to be respected, because we are working hard for every single person. In my capacity as a councilman, I'm always here looking for quality of life for all communities in Morristown, all communities, whether it's black, white, Hispanic. And of course I am Latino, and I am all the way for the Latinos, and I don't want to stain this victory tonight, so I apologize and thank you.
Thank you. I think, you know, it's everybody's passionate about this issue, at least the people in this room and the members of council, and I appreciate the Wind of the Spirit coming to several different meetings and speaking, and they're very passionate and they're scared. And you know, Morristown is a strong community because it's a diverse community, and our school systems are strong. We have members of the school board, past members of the school board here. Our schools are strong because they're very diverse, and you know, I'm proud that my children get to go to schools that have that diversity. I didn't grow up in a diverse community, but one of the draws to come to Morristown was the diversity. There's strength in diversity. We're a great community. We're a welcoming community. We appreciate everybody coming out and supporting this. Pastor Silva will speak more when we bring the resolution up for a vote. But we do want to thank everybody for coming and speaking so passionately about this resolution. Any other final comments before we move on?
I'll make mine during the mayor's thing.
Okay, so let's move on to the mayor's proclamations and presentations.
All right, I'll just briefly touch on the resolution that's going to be passed tonight. I appreciate the pastor's passion and understanding of how this council acts. I know Carol Ruiz, I know her passion, I know her fight. I've known her now for a couple of years. So in the battle of immigration, which is taking place today, don't get me wrong, I appreciate everything you said, and I was sitting there going, geez, we're all in support of it, and you know, it was like almost too combative. But she's been fighting for immigration rights for a long time, and it's not every community is like Morristown. She mentioned that at the last council meeting. That meant a lot to me, and I shared it with some council members, what you said after that meeting, that this isn't normally what you see on a regular basis, this type of unity, with the words that Councilman Ayana Cohn said, the passion that our Vice President said, and what he said rings true. But those of us who have been around since 287G was tried to push on us back in 2007 to 2008, we don't forget. Although I do agree it was a little combative, and we're just trying to do the right thing, and we always seem to do the right thing as a community, not just as a mayor and a council. We really do, as a council, function well, and do put the residents of Morristown first always. So although I understand your passion and I respect it, and I know you've been at this fight a long time, and it's going to get a lot harder. It's not going to get easier. Just read the news tonight about Oklahoma, and you'll see why.
with the school superintendent. So it's just going to get more difficult, and we just have to just stay calm and just keep your head forward. For me, just, stay together, keep praying, and hopefully good things will come about it. I really appreciate some of the public comment of the women that came up that worked with different immigrants from Vietnam and from Afghanistan. When you hear that, you don't usually hear that in the council. So to hear that, that was really cool. And it's okay you don't live in Morristown. It's just great that you do the things that you do, and you care about people. And that's what it's all about. We're all not going to be here 20 years. Well, some of you might be here 20 years from now, but I'm not going to be here. So while we're here, we try to make the best of it, right? Try to help people. That's the only thing we could do. And let me tell you something. When you help somebody, it doesn't feel any better. It feels so good when you're actually helping somebody. And that's something that I've talked to council members. It's very stressful every day when you have to deal with what we deal with in Morristown. It's like a little city. But every once in a while, somebody really, you see the fruits of your labor, and it makes it all worthwhile. So hang in there. Carol, don't lose that passion. And we'll be here for all of you. As you heard from the vice president, from the president, and the council, we'll all be here. We're not going anywhere. All right, I got some things I have to do. So let's get the school board people up here. Come on, guys.
Oh, that's
This is really great timing for this. It sure is. So this is
Three
school
members of
district,
the school board.
So why don't you introduce yourself to the public so they know who you are? If you do it in Spanish, it's great.
I'll speak in English. My name is Linda Murphy. I live in Morris Township. I have been a board member on the Morris School District Board of Education for 6 years. I'm just starting.
Ella es Linda Murphy y ella es miembro de la Junta Escolar por 6 años.
I'm just starting my third 3-year term, and my motto is put kids first. Every child, every child.
Su palabra es poner a los niños primero.
Hi, my name is Melissa Spiota. I am also on the Board of Ed. Me llamo Melissa Spiota. I'm also a proud alumni of Morristown High, 1985. And like Linda, I also hail from Morris Township and couldn't be prouder to serve on the Board of Ed.
Mrs. Spiota también sirve en la Junta y ella le saluda en español.
Hola, buenas noches. Mi nombre es Meredith Davidson y vivo en Morristown también y sirve en Junta Escolar.
La Junta Escolar.
La Junta Escolar. Y gracias por venir a esta reunión.
Okay, I got to do this in English, okay? Okay, all right, okay. Yeah, give them a round of applause. That's big, yes. Believe me, they look out for your children. It doesn't get more important. Listen, we have a tough job. You want to interpret this? You can. Sure. Come on. When do you get a chance to get an audience like this, right? You think our job is hard?
¿Ustedes piensan que nuestro trabajo es duro?
Their job is much harder.
El trabajo de ellos es más duro.
They deal with children.
Ellos están todos los días tratando con niños.
And the parents of children.
Y con los padres de los niños.
So you know how difficult that can be.
Usted sabe cuán difícil eso es.
So we
No ustedes.
we owe a debt of gratitude to those who serve our public school system.
Nosotros tenemos una deuda de gratitud con aquellos que sirven en nuestro sistema de escolar.
And we are grateful that I'm able to do this proclamation
Y estamos agradecidos de hacer esta proclamación
to recognize the school district.
para reconocer el distrito escolar.
All right, now we're reading record.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Pastor.
You're welcome.
All right, this is a proclamation, so smile. Whereas the New Jersey School Board Association has declared January 2025 to the School Board Recognition Month. a time when all residents can acknowledge the contributions made by our local school board members. The Morristown Board of Education is one of 581 local school boards in New Jersey, which sets policies and oversees operations for public school districts. The Morristown Board of Education embraces the goal of high-quality education for all New Jersey public school students. New Jersey's local school boards help determine the educational goals for approximately 1.4 million children from pre-kindergarten through 12th grade. New Jersey's 5,000 local school board members who receive remuneration for their services act as advocates for public school students as they work with administrators, teachers, and parents for the betterment of public education. School boards strive to provide the resources necessary to meet the needs of all students, including those with special needs. Board of Education provides accountability to the public. They communicate the needs of the school district to the public, and they convey to school administrators the public's expectation for their schools. Whereas New Jersey can take pride in its schools, which rank among the nation's best in key achievement indicators, such as National Assessment of Educational Progress scores and the preparation for college through advanced placement offerings at SAT assessments. Now therefore, I, Timothy P. Doherty, Mayor of the Town of Morristown, do hereby proclaim School Board Recognition Month in the Town of Morristown. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for coming.
Thank you for the honor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn.
Thank you.
Keep up the good work.
Yes, thank
Melissa.
you. Sure.
I did get a proclamation for Black History Month, which actually starts in February, so I'm going to wait until February to do this proclamation. I know it was put on my agenda tonight, but I'm going to wait till February, the month that it's actually in. Okay, recent events, week of the 6th to the 10th of January. I want to give a shout out to our governor and to the mobile DMV unit. They were in the town hall parking lot for a week. Got my what do you call it?
Real ID.
The Real ID. It was very simple. I want to thank Division of Motor Vehicles and all those staff that came here for that week and helped a lot of people get their real IDs. So a shout out to the state of New Jersey, Governor, and the Division of Motor Vehicles. Town Hall was closed, obviously, for observance of Martin Luther King Day. The Martin Luther King Observance Committee hosted their 55th annual King Day celebration and the annual interfaith breakfast at the Hyatt Regency. They did it a little different this year. They had a 3-hour program at the Hyatt, some great speakers. I thought it was well attended, and it was a great celebration of Martin Luther King. I want to shout out to the Observance Committee for putting that on. On the 24th of Friday the 24th, the Morris branch of the NAACP and Union Baptist Church, Pastor Lance Mann, hosted a town hall meeting on affordable housing and mortgage reform at the UBC. I was in attendance, gave a small speech. They had a great speaker on the ins and outs of affordable housing mortgages. One has to be a little careful these days because there are new programs out there that talk about 96% mortgage with 4% down. It's similar to what Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac did back in the 2000s, which ended up into a crash. So one has to be very careful on when you get mortgages because there's programs out there now with you don't need big credit scores. It's almost predatory lending in a way. So you have to be careful to make sure that you're aware of the ins and outs and the do's and don'ts of mortgages. And one of the things I learned in that event was how many really read every line in a mortgage statement when you sign those documents. You ever sign a mortgage, you're signing all these, you're just signature, 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 signature. How many people actually read the whole thing? And I guarantee you, none.
Nope.
You read the whole thing?
Never.
So everybody thinks that's a contract. It's a covenant. And the word covenant is throughout that mortgage, and it's really interesting, it really just becomes the securities. It doesn't even, it's if you looked at your original mortgage and you've had that house for 25 years, you'd never find the original mortgage because it's sold as securities time and time again. It's very interesting that there's no contract in there. It's all the word covenant, which I find to be very interesting. It was a really good speaker. Wednesday the 29th, Morristown On-Stage tickets go on sale. That is tomorrow. Buy tickets for the March 4th show at Mayo Arts. You can go to mayoarts.org. Remember, Morristown On-Stage tickets is an amazing event. Make sure you get your tickets. Just clerk, take care of the council. Okay. Monday the 17th, Town Hall will be observed, will be closed due to President's Day. Morristown Recreation is hiring for the 2025 season. Okay, Morristown Recreation is hiring for the 2025 season for the summer. Positions are open for playground director, playground staff, pool gate attendants, lifeguards, swim team coaches. Visit townofmorristown.org/job opportunities for more info. We'll have all this posted on the website. I'm sure there's lots of people looking for jobs. Now, before I close out, this is the on-stage thing, but we'll have it on the website. You get to see it all, people that are participating in on-stage. Today I was visited by Major Aaron Oliver from the United States Army, who, Council President, I'm going to actually present this to you.
Okay.
And then you can get the town clerk to get it in a glass thing, and we can put it somewhere in here or in somewhere in town.
Here or somewhere?
Maybe the police or somewhere, police department, we'll find somewhere. So he came to my office this morning for a meeting, and this is what he bought. He's been in Iraq for the last year, and he bought a flag that was flown on an Apache in Iraq and Syria, and it's this flag was proudly flown aboard an I think it says 640, Apache attack helicopter in Iraq and Syria in support of Operation, it's really hard to read this, Inherent Resolve, by the member of Guardian, the 44th Infantry Brigade Combat Team. It's discolored, so it's hard to see when I don't have my glasses. On the 5th of September 2024, this flag symbolizes the sovereign power of the United States of America and unshakable resolve and dedication to the men and women of the United States Army to defend freedom wherever it is threatened. And this is by Major Aaron Oliver. Presented this to the town and to that's pretty cool, right? And he's actually shown flying in the air with the flag on it. So, of course, I asked, can I fly this in front of town? I said, no, put it in the case. It's been flown already. It's been flown on an attack patch. So we don't read about it much. We don't hear about it much. But we have troops still in Iraq and in harm's way in Syria, and they're over there still constantly. Don't read about it a lot because of everything that's going on in the Middle East. But they're still there. So I want to recognize and thank Aaron Oliver, the chaplain in the Army, and he was so kind to drop his off. And Council President, I believe that ends my comments for this evening.
Okay, thank you. What I'd like to do is move out of order if we can. Consulted with our attorney that I can go ahead and do that for the benefit of all the people that are here from Wind of the Spirit. What I'd like to do is to move forward with a vote on resolution number R43-2025.
Second.
And I know Pastor Silva is going to have some comments that he would like to make as well. So in respect of your time and being here and taking the time to be here, we want to make sure that you're able to get back home and enjoy the rest of your evening. So if you want to please interpret.
Yes, thank you. Hemos movido la agenda para poder votar en la resolución 43-2025, para que ustedes pues respetarle su tiempo y que puedan ir a casa porque todavía tenemos muchas cosas que cubrir. All right.
I think we have to introduce. Need to introduce and, or we're just.
I think it's been moved, you moved it.
I moved it.
And it was seconded, so we are now in
okay,
discussion.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
go ahead.
we're perfect. Yeah.
I asked Mr. Ombriak, the president, to allow me to read the resolution. I think it is important to read it because if any naysayer is watching, they need to know what is in here and they don't make up stories saying things that are not here. So the resolution R 43, 2025 resolution supporting the New Jersey State Immigrant Trust Act, ITA S 3672-A4987. Whereas New Jersey is one of the most diverse states within a nation of immigrants, and whereas nearly 1 of 4 New Jerseyans is an immigrant, and whereas over 10% of New Jersey children who are U.S. citizens live with at least one undocumented family member, and whereas since 2019, the Immigrant Trust Directive, ITD, has enabled our immigrant communities of diverse status to live without fear of interactions with law enforcement, to come forth if they are victim of a crime and not be subject to separation from their families. And whereas public officials agree that this has kept our communities safer and reflected the value of our immigrant communities, be they documented, undocumented, TPS holders, dreamers, etc., and whereas it is anticipated that New Jersey Attorney General will issue detailed guidelines for towns and police departments to follow regarding immigration, which Morristown will implement, and whereas New Jersey's municipalities and state government reserve the right to protect our residents and maintain the stability of our communities, economy, and society in the way we best see fit, and whereas Assemblywoman Ellen Park and Senator Gordon Johnson have introduced the Immigrant Trust Act S 3672-A4987 into a state legislature, and whereas the Immigrant Trust Act would codify the ITD into law, and whereas the ITA would expand the protections in the ITD so that no one need fear that a visit to the DMV to enroll their children in school, to obtain lawfully entitled health care, etc., could lead to their private information being shared with ICE and putting themselves or their families in jeopardy. Therefore, be it resolved that the Town Council of the Town of Morristown calls upon the state legislature to pass ITA within its current session and with all deliberate speed. And be it further resolved that the Town Council calls on our own district's representatives in the Assembly and Senate to co-sponsor and vote affirmatively for the ITA, and be it further resolved that the Town Council calls on the Governor to sign the ITA into law, and be it further resolved that the Town Clerk of the Town of Morristown transmit copies of this resolution to Senate President Scutari and Assembly Speaker Coughlin and the Senate Assembly members for District 25, to the bill's 2 principal sponsors and the Governor of New Jersey. So now, at this moment, because there is a phrase thrown around, and the phrase is common sense, I want to call on Assemblywoman Aura Dunn and to Senator Anthony Bucco to please vote yes for this initiative. Common sense said that. Common sense is that we have many families, hardworking families, community-oriented families, honest people that not only are doing a great job for themselves, but they are contributing not only to the community, but to the nation. And before we vote, today I have a good thought about this. Today we have acknowledged that our immigration issue is bigger than just securing the border and deporting people. This country was built and is moving forward by waves of immigration. We must remember the Irish wave, the Italian wave, just to name a couple. The Latino wave has occurred in multiple phases, including the 1940s, 1950s, 1960s, the late 20th century, and the beginning of the 21st century. Of course, we are not advocating only for Latinos. We heard other nationalities like Cambodia, Afghanistan, Vietnam, and anyone from around the world. Amen? What we really need is an immigration reform. Both parties in Washington have perpetuated for decades the issue for political reasons, so they can have an issue to run on, whether in one way or another. The problem gets worse as there is a polarization, one side advocating for immigrants, driving in narratives in which they speak about undocumented immigrants without never saying that we don't advocate for hardcore criminals like rapists or assassins or murderers. But the other side not speaking about the contribution of millions of undocumented immigrants to our nation. There you are. Both narratives being fear-mongering, one side saying that you should hide and stop your life because you could be deported, and the other side saying that they will deport everyone. I will speak about the risk of collateral damage, and I'm sure Wind of the Spirit might have produced a pamphlet to tell people what to do if somebody's knocking at the door, right? That's very important. Training, very important. And come to the churches, and you're welcome to our church. Because we need to prepare our people. And I finalize by saying how wrong is deporting decent, honest, hardworking, community-oriented people. So that's why I'm calling on the representatives of our legislature on our district to vote yes. And I personally want to go there at the moments of debate at Trenton. So today we're having a small victory. We need to continue fighting and pushing back for our immigrant community.
Thank you. All right, without, amen.
It came out.
No, that's fine, that's fine. I felt like we were in church for a minute, but that was great, that was great. Thank you, Pastor Silva, for your speech, and let's move forward with the roll call on the vote.
Okay. On adoption of Resolution 43, 2025, Councilwoman Foster?
Yes.
Councilman Ianicum?
Yes.
Councilwoman Lindsay?
Yes.
Councilman Flipchuk?
Yes.
Councilman Russo?
Yes.
Councilman Silva?
Yes.
Council President Abria?
Yes.
Motion carries. Resolution is adopted.
Thank you. All right, thank you everyone for that. We'll go back in order of our tonight's council meeting. So we're going to move to, where did we end? The report of the mayors and town officials. We're going to have a presentation on affordable housing.
Yeah, they turned off.
Okay.
I just turned them back on. Everything's ready. He just needs to connect his laptop.
We'll give everybody a few minutes to take pictures and if they want to exit. Victory.
You also get five minutes.
You didn't think everyone was here for you guys.
Phil, you're on the clock.
Gracias a ustedes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
I don't know why they're not interested in Phil's presentation.
When he said that, amen, I was like, oh, he forgot where he is.
You thought he was in church? No, I thought it was great.
He was mid-sermon.
Amen.
It was great.
Yeah. Very impassioned. It's great. Gracias, gracias.
I'm sorry? It takes like a minute. Some of them have like a lag. It'll get there. I tested it this morning. Those two were always lagging
Very well done,
like
David.
a minute behind.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I wrote it in. How about these are nice, aren't they? Yeah. These screens.
Oh, my God.
I know. I wanted to hear her, but she has to. Yeah, I know.
Was there ever one up here?
I know.
Phil, how many slides? This is what we heard the other day.
Yeah, this is more for the public.
But it was nice.
Well, including. No, we'll be quick. I know. We'll be quick. I'm the talker. All right. Topology, you guys are up when you're ready. Okay. Not all the monitors are working? Those two. Okay.
Yep, all set?
Yes, gentlemen,
All
go
right.
ahead.
Good evening. Thank you for having us. Chris Colley, planner with the town. Bill Abramson, planner with the town. You have a item on your agenda tonight. It's R44. It's a resolution relating to affordable housing. So we're here to give you a little overview of the resolution, and it's your first action in this new set of affordable housing, so we'll just give you a small bit of background. As you're probably aware, the state adopted a new affordable housing law in the spring of last year. I learned on my way over here that I've been carrying a copy around in my backpack for the last year, so here it is. And this sets forth the procedures and the layout for how affordable housing will be managed in the state moving forward. So if you hear Mount Laurel, if you hear COA, if you hear affordable housing obligations, all of that is this law, synonyms for the same thing. And in that law, there is a long time frame of actions that municipalities need to take to be compliant with it. And tonight, we're really here just to talk about the first action, which is a resolution passed by a governing body adopting what their affordable housing obligation will be for this period. You'll see the deadline is January 31st, 2025. So we're here not a moment too soon, and that's why you have it on your agenda this evening. You might have heard in the news that the state put out numbers, obligation numbers for municipalities, and that's true. The state put those numbers out in October through the DCA, and the way that the law is structured, communities have an opportunity to review what are advisory numbers from the DCA, look at how the DCA calculated the numbers, and then as the town take the methodology from the law and identify discrepancies or differences that you might know at the local level that weren't captured in the state number, and then ultimately pass a resolution like you're doing tonight saying, we understand what the DCA advisory number was, this is the number that we believe to be accurate based on the methodology. So there's two parts of your obligation. One part is called the prospective need, and this is really the one that gets the most press and is airtime and is the one we're going to talk about the most this evening. We'll have conversations at subsequent meetings about how you fulfill this prospective need. It's beyond what we're here to talk about tonight, but a bunch of different ways. Could be new development, could be extending affordability for existing units, this whole bonus credit system. But this prospective need number is the number that if you're talking casually, oh, what's your obligation in Morristown? This is the number folks are really referring to, the prospective need. I did think it was important, since the action you're taking is adopting this prospective need number, for you to understand a little bit how that number gets calculated. And it's actually a pretty simple formula if you read it 10 or 12 times. But simplest version of it is the law calculates an obligation for the whole state. That obligation, the law calculates an obligation for different regions of the state. We're in Region 2, and the obligation, the affordable housing obligation, the prospective need obligation for all of Region 2 is 20,506 units. Do I have a volunteer to remember that number, 20,506?
I got you.
Okay, great. And that obligation gets split up amongst all of the municipalities in that region. And the way the obligation gets split up is based on these three factors. One, about how much developable land you have. 2, about what your incomes are relative to other communities in the region, and 3, about how much change in non-residential value there's been in the town in the recent period. And all these are important because they go into our number. So when DCA looked at Morristown and did their calculation, they found that Morristown had a little under 3% of the total growth, a little under 1% of the overall land, developable land, that its income was a little over 1.17% higher than the region. And all of that averaged out, if you take these three, add them up, averages out to 1.66. So, what was the number I asked you to remember, Phil?
20,506.
2506. So if you take 2506, right, and you multiply that by 0.0166, you get 341 units. So it's just these three factors. You average them out. Simple math, right? Yeah. So if those factors change, though, the obligation changes as well. Yep. So what we did, and we do have a memo that's in the packet sort of going through this in more detail. We looked at each of these factors individually. The land capacity one, kind of the most significant in our analysis. DCA found there was 47.43 developable acres in the town. We went and looked at all those individual parcels that they identified, properties they identified, and what we found were that in their statewide screening of what is developable, things fell through the cracks, and properties were identified as developable in Morristown that clearly weren't. So that's Ford Mansion up there on the screen. Fort Nonsense was in there. Part of the recycling center was in there. So we sort of screened out those properties that are, not developable for a variety of reasons. And after doing that, we came to the conclusion that about 14 acres were developable. And that brought this number down from 0.89 to 0.26. The other two factors were less impactful, but still worth mentioning. The non-residential valuation, this is how much growth has there been in non-residential development over this period. Very unique Morristown factor because of the hospital court case from whatever, 9-10 years ago. At the beginning period, the sort of start from what they're measuring, the hospital was not taxable, so it didn't go into the sort of starting value of valuation in town. Over the period of time that they're measuring, it became taxable, so it appears that Morristown had significantly more growth than it actually did because the hospital is sort of not counting in one scenario, but counting in the other. And then income capacity was as simple as after the DCA put out the report in October, new numbers, new census numbers came out in December, so we reviewed those, and that resulted in a slight modification. So if you do the math again, and you take these factors as we recalculated them, it's our finding that instead of 1.66% of the regional obligation, Morristown should really be allocated 1.3%, and that changes that prospective need from 341 units, as DCA calculated, to 266, and that's the number you'll find in your resolution. I did mention that there's another type of need. This section's only one slide, don't worry. And that's the present need. The present need it really deals with existing units, and it's calculated really just very formulaically from data sets, federal data sets, and we looked at the data sets and we found that DCA's calculation was what we got to, which was 140 units. So that's the number that you find in your resolution. So as I said to start, this is the first formal step in this time frame. There's many other steps after this, but I think that's what you need to know for your resolution tonight, and thanks for listening, and we're here for questions. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Phil.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time. Thank you.
8.
Well done. All right, while they're going back to their seats, we'll move forward with council liaison reports. Councilwoman Lindsay.
Yes, good afternoon. We did, first I told last meeting, I said that the units Flagler Street is finished, which they are. But we had just a small issue, not really small. We visited the senior building on Saturday, and for other reason and came up, we had issues with the heat. I did talk to some of the higher peoples in housing today. They are fixing on it. I will recheck again tomorrow and see that they fix it at 31 and 39 Early Street.
Thank you. Councilman Polipchuk.
Sure. For the partnership, they had their first meeting on the 8th. Leadership stays the same. No change in their executive leadership. Interesting fact is that the Santa visits this year were near a record high. So it's gotten very popular, especially with the new refurbishment that they've done. And a lot of discussion was just on future events coming up in 2025.
Thank you. Councilman Russo.
Last Thursday, we had our planning board meeting. Two very big projects went through, which in my opinion are both great additions to the town. So you can actually check them out at morristowngreen.com if you want to read the details on it. But they're beautiful projects. I think they're going to move Morristown in the right direction like it's already been going for many years. That's it.
Thank you very much. Councilman Silva.
The Parking Authority for the town of Morristown had its organization meeting on January 15. New Commissioner Christopher Leon Garibian was sworn into the Board of Commissioners, the Park Authority of Morristown. The new slate of officers is as follows: Chairperson Carrie Lloyd, Vice Chairperson Richard Tye, Treasurer Lucille Napick, Secretary Christopher Leon Garibian, and for the Assistant Secretary Treasurer, that place is vacant. The MPA is actively recruiting for Human Resource Manager and Park Supervisors. So if anyone is interested, there is a good position there. Solar and electric vehicle installation is underway. The Dalton Garage 2025 restoration work is expected to begin soon. Bid for phase 2 of Ann Bank remedial repairs is underway. The next meeting will be February 12th. That's all.
Thank you. All right, Stephanie, let's move forward with regular business, please.
All right, we have 3 ordinances for introduction this evening. Ordinance number 03-2025, an ordinance amending and supplementing the Code of the Town of Morristown, Chapter 7, Traffic, Section 7-40.2, handicap parking on streets for private residences to amend the placard number assigned to a dedicated parking space for a resident on Columbus Street.
I'll make a motion to introduce ordinance number O-3-2025.
Second.
Any comments or questions from council? Okay, on introduction of ordinance 03-2025, Councilwoman Foster?
Yes.
Councilman Ianicone?
Yes.
Councilwoman Lindsay?
Yes.
Councilman Polipchuk?
Yes.
Councilman Russo?
Yes.
Councilman Silva?
Yes.
Council President Umbreak?
Yes.
Okay, ordinance 03-2025 has been introduced properly by title and will be considered further after a public hearing on February 11th, 2025. Ordinance number O-4-2025, ordinance amending Chapter 30 of the Code of the Town of Morristown entitled Land Development, Part 5, Environmental Regulations, creating Article 5F, privately owned salt storage.
I'll make a motion to introduce ordinance number O-4-2025.
Second.
Any comments or questions from council? Okay. On the introduction of ordinance O-4-2025, Councilwoman Foster?
Yes.
Councilman Ianicone?
Yes.
Councilwoman Lindsay?
Yes.
Councilman Polipchuk?
Yes.
Councilman Russo?
Yes.
Councilman Silva?
Yes.
Council President Umbreak?
Yes.
Ordinance O-4-2025 has been introduced properly by title and will be considered further after a public hearing on February 11th, 2025. And lastly, ordinance number O-5-2025, ordinance of the Town of Morristown amending and supplementing Chapter 30, Land Development, Section 5, Environmental Regulations by replacing subsection 5C, Stormwater Control Regulations.
I'll make a motion to introduce ordinance number O-5-2025.
Second.
Any comments or questions from council? On the introduction of ordinance O-5-2025, Councilwoman Foster?
Yes.
Councilman Ianicone?
Yes.
Councilwoman Lindsay?
Yes.
Councilman Polipchuk?
Yes.
Councilman Russo?
Yes.
Councilman Silva?
Yes.
And Council President Umbreak?
Yes.
Ordinance O-5-2025 has been introduced properly by title and will be considered further after a public hearing on February 11th, 2025. We have two ordinances for public hearing and adoption this evening. Ordinance number O-1-2025, ordinance amending and supplementing Chapter 7 Traffic, Section 17, Residential Permit Parking to add Section 7-17.8, Revocation of Permit.
I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance number O-1-2025.
Second?
At this time, I will open the floor for a public hearing on ordinance O-1-2025 only. Okay. There are no comments or questions from council either. On the adoption of ordinance O-1-2025, Councilwoman Foster?
Yes.
Councilman Iannicone?
Yes.
Councilwoman Lindsay?
Yes.
Councilman Pilipchuk?
Yes.
Councilman Russo?
Yes.
Councilman Silva?
Yes.
And Council President Umbreak.
Yes.
Okay, ordinance O-1-2025 is adopted. Lastly, ordinance number O-2-2025, an ordinance amending and supplementing the Code of the Town of Morristown, Chapter 7 Traffic, Section 40.2, handicap parking on streets for private residences to amend the placard number assigned to a dedicated parking space for a resident of 29 Western Ave.
I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance number O-2-2025.
Second?
At this time, I will open the floor for a public hearing on ordinance number O-2-2025 only. There are no questions or comments from council either on the adoption of ordinance O-2-2025. Councilwoman Foster?
Yes.
Councilman Iannicone?
Yes.
Councilwoman Lindsay?
Yes.
Councilman Pilipchuk?
Yes.
Councilman Russo?
Yes.
Councilman Silva?
Yes.
And Council President Umbreak.
Yes.
Ordinance O-2-2025 is adopted. There are 6 resolutions left, as we pulled one already on the agenda. Would any member of council like to pull any others for separate consideration? Okay, if not, I would ask a motion to adopt resolutions 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, and 44.
I'll make that motion.
Second?
On adoption of these resolutions, Councilwoman Foster?
Yes.
Councilman Iannicone?
Yes.
Councilwoman Lindsay?
Yes.
Councilman Pilipchuk?
Yes.
Councilman Russo?
Yes.
Councilman Silva?
Yes.
And Council President Umbreak.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. These resolutions are adopted.
Thank you, Stephanie. We have no unfinished old business, no new business. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting adjourned.